special for a special webinar on Guru Purnima, giving you an update on where the university's at and launching our annual fundraising campaign. You know, through this journey with Hindu University of America, I showed that chart of our total student course registrations, and we're very proud of that. Yanji, president of Kalyan Viswanathan, president of Hindu University of America, today is going to give a broader presentation of where we are in the path and growth of the university, his vision for where we're going. We'll take questions. You can put them in the Q&A box. Again, my name is Ankur Patel. I'm the director of advancement for Hindu University of America. I'm in Los Angeles today. Please put in the chat where you are joining us from today. And, you know, Guru Purnima is about celebrating our spiritual and academic gurus. And I think Hindu University of America as an academic institution, it really embodies this ethos and mantra, and the way that we're approaching it is a celebration of knowledge, of Vedic knowledge systems, of Hinduism in so many different ways. Kalyanji, I know you have another wonderful presentation. I'm curious to see where you see us going over the next 5-10 years, but also reflecting on the tremendous growth and progress we've made over the last 2.5 years since you've really taken over. So without further ado, Shri Kalyan Viswanathan, please.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Thank you all. See, you know, predictably, the attendance is very low. So I think we can elevate everybody into a panelist. So we can actually speak to each other rather than...
yeah, so when I promote you to a panelist, please accept. You have to accept the invitation to be promoted to a panelist. Please mute yourself, you know, and we'll take questions. And as Kalyanji said, this will make it more intimate. We had about, I don't know, 170 people register for this webinar. People will be joining us. We have maybe 40 so far. But thank you for joining us for this webinar and being curious about what we're doing at Hindu University of America and joining us. Yeah, Kalyanji, I'll keep on promoting people as they come.
Okay, wonderful. So as you promote, I would like to begin by, you know, paying a little tribute to the gurus, the acharyas, the rishis, the munis, and yogis, and all the wonderful, great teachers of our heritage and lineage who have preserved the Dharma under pretty adverse and extreme conditions over millennia now. So let me do this. Ankur, as you keep promoting people, I'm going to play a song, a Guru Paduka Stotram. Let's just sit back and enjoy this song, okay? It's a few minutes, but 7 minutes long. Let's just quietly meditate on all the figures who are represented, and you know, pay our respects and reverence towards them. I'll play this.
Very nice. If you're joining us just after that, please accept our panelist invite and join us as a panelist. Our attendance is actually shot up a little bit. We're at almost 85 people or so, but make it a little bit more intimate, getting to see everyone's wonderful faces from wherever you are. And thank you, Yanji, for sharing that.
Yeah. Yeah. So actually, we have a limit of 100 panelists. That's it. The 101st person will have to remain an attendee and cannot become a panelist. So anyway, I hope you all enjoyed that song. It's one of my favorites. It's just something I found on the internet. Really, somebody had. I don't even know who put it together, but it's such a really wonderful summation. And of course, it's quite possible that you may feel that your favorite guru is not represented in that in that particular sequence, and I mean, we had to let it go because whoever put it together made a particular selection, which is for whatever. But the principle is what's important. Now, the today is Guru Purnima day, and obviously, the Guru has got a very specific significance in the Hindu world. And I'm going to start my presentation with a couple of slides representing that. So if you so here we are. So it's just town hall. That's not really it. So in this chart, I've depicted some of the important figures, at least as I personally understand my lineage. My own guru was Swami Dayanand Saraswati, who's shown at the bottom right. I had the privilege of spending 21 years off and on with him. And to whatever extent there is some inspiration at work behind Hindu University of America, it's wholly attributable to him and his teaching. Now, our parampara can be traced back to the origins in different ways. This is one particular tracing, it's not the only one. So we have a shloka which goes like this: Sadha Shiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Parampara. Now, that shloka can be rendered differently. For example, Mahavishnu Samarambham Ramanujacharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Parampara. And you can suitably replace whoever the gurus want in that verse, and you get a different instance of the same phenomenon, a different instance of the same phenomenon. So I think the important thing is the phenomenon itself, not the specific instance. I mean, it's not that the specific instance is not important. It's supremely important from the standpoint of our personal, individual experience. Whoever we consider our gurus, or whoever we consider the gurus of our lineage. But there is an abstract principle at work here, and that is what is represented by Guru Purnima. So in this particular sequence, you have Dakshinamurti, the Adi Guru, 4 Sanakati rishis. Then you have the the tremendously important figure of Vyasa. And of course, Guru Purnima is also called Vyasa Purnima. Because in some measure, Vyasa is the one who sets in motion the, the architecture of the Vedic knowledge for the Kali Yuga. It's almost as though he foresaw Kali Yuga is going to be a period of tremendous decline and destruction in so many ways. And he organizes the Vedas, he composes the Mahabharata, and even the Puranas are attributed to him. And so it's a preeminent figure uh, in the lineage, Vyasa. And of course, who can ignore Sri Krishna and his conversation with Arjuna? It is the quintessential, almost archetypal Guru Sishya conversation. And of course, moving on, we get our own Shankaracharya and other acharyas of a more recent vintage coming down to our time. Now, I want to focus a little bit on the archetype, the abstract principle that is at play here, which is, see, without a Sishya, there is no Guru. I've heard this said by Swamiji himself. You know, in order for a human being to become a Guru, somebody has to accept you as a teacher. Somebody has to become your Sishya. And without a Sishya, there is no Guru. One cannot walk around saying, I'm a great Guru. It's only in the context of a Sishya, in the context of the specific conversation between a Guru and a Sishya, that the parampara is established. Ultimately, the Guru Purnima is the celebration of not just the Guru, but the Guru Sishya Parampara. But in abstract terms, it is the celebration of the transmission of the Dharma from generation to generation. Because without the Guru, without the Acharya, without the teaching, and without a student, excuse me, please go on mute, please. It's just not acceptable. I'm going to stop sharing. And how do I mute everybody?
Got it,
Uncle,
Kalyanji.
can you mute everybody, please? Uncle, okay, thanks.
Yeah, I got it.
So where was I? I was talking about the principle of transmission of the Dharma from generation to generation. See, every new generation is quite fragile. It may accept, it may receive the transmission, and in turn appreciate the responsibility in its own time to transmit the Dharma to its own future generation. Or it may totally fail to appreciate it. So there is a moment of extreme vulnerability in the transmission of the Dharma from generation to generation. And it is in that context that the Guru becomes such an important figure. Within the Hindu tradition, that transmission, that the possibility of transmission is held in extraordinary reverence and respect. And that is the occasion of Guru Purnima. So here are a couple of verses from the Bhagavad Gita. Evam parampara praptam imam raja rishayo viduhu sa kale neha mahatha yogo nashta parantama sa evayam maya tedhya yoga prokta puratanaha bhaktosi me sakhat cheti rahasyam hetaduttamam. What he's saying is the Raja Rishis. This is a very interesting word. Raja Rishayo Viduhu. Raja Rishis. Does it mean kings who are also rishis? Does it mean rishis who are close to kings? But clearly, the connection between rishi and raja is a very important connection made in the Bhagavad Gita. And when the rishi is left on his own without the raja, or a hostile Raja, the entire Dharma is jeopardized. The Raja Rishis received this knowledge of yoga. Again, interesting, the word is yoga here, both the verses. In a continuous tradition, but with the long passage of time, it was lost to the world. The same ancient knowledge of yoga, which is the supreme secret, Rahasyam, I am today revealing unto you because you are my friend as well as my devotee, and you can understand this transcendental wisdom. Sri Krishna is saying this yoga was getting lost in his time, which by any reckoning is a few thousand years ago. Whether it's 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 years ago, we can debate about it, but it's a few thousand years ago, and he's already saying it's getting lost. Now, the good thing is, fast forward few thousand years from Krishna's time, it doesn't seem like the yoga is lost wholly and totally. It doesn't seem like it. It seems like the transmission has been going on. There are numerous gurus and acharyas in every generation who come, who keep reincarnating, who keep taking birth, and in all parts of Bharat as a country and even other parts of the world. The transmission of this knowledge, the maintenance of this supreme knowledge, the supreme secret, and its preservation and protection and transmission has been going on and on and on. And that is the principle, that is the abstract idea that we are celebrating with the Guru Purnima. Now, Hindu University of America obviously takes its inspiration from this, and Ankur shared the chart already, and I just want to show you, since this particular phase of rejuvenation began a little over 2 years ago, we've seen a pretty steady growth in the number of student registrations into courses. Okay, and we're right at hovering around 550 right now. We're holding steady between spring quarter and summer quarter, having increased steadily. And summer, I believe we saw a little bit of a attenuation in the growth primarily because a lot of people who had been stuck at home in the pandemic for many, many months now were choosing to travel a little bit. Many people have told us that we want to take the summer off. We want to travel and meet family and do things we have not done over the last year. So we believe that's the reason for the lack of growth between spring and summer. But time will tell. As soon as we put the bar chart for fall quarter, we will know exactly what is happening up there. But even then, you will admit this is a pretty good, fairly impressive pattern of growth that we've experienced. So highlights, we have more than 1,400 students in the learning management system since the spring quarter of 2019. There are 50 plus students taking some kind of graduate program, meaning an MA or a PhD program. They're either in the MA in Hindu Studies, PhD in Hindu Studies, or the MA in Sanskrit program. We have 30 plus faculty, 10 plus administrative staff, 7 areas of study, 120 courses, 120 plus courses in the catalog, and as we said, 500 plus students per quarter. We have 13 board members, the board of trustees. We have an additional 20 plus people in the board of overseers. So this is a substantive and definitive positive growth story so far. I just want to briefly revisit our vision, mission, goals, and objectives. It is very useful to get grounded here. So first, the vision statement of the university. Vision. Promoting dialogue across disciplines, cultures, and civilizations while enabling self-discovery, conscious evolution, and harmony. The Hindu University of America will set the standard for the study of Hindu Dharma. That's our vision statement. Mission statement is Hindu University of America provides education and knowledge systems based in Hindu thought involving critical inquiry, ethics, and self reflection. Committed to fostering the culture and traditions of Hindu Dharma in an atmosphere of academic excellence and freedom, it prepares students for service, leadership, and global engagement. So that's the vision and mission statement. In terms of the goals and objectives, there are primarily three significant goals, if you will. Right, the first one is restoration, recover and preserve Hindu spiritual and intellectual capital for future generations. Again, the idea of transmission is very important. Transmission from one generation to the next generation. The recovery, restoration of knowledge that has been squandered, lost, has been scattered, has been, you know, it needs to be consolidated in one place and constituted as the intellectual capital of uh, the whole civilization, basically. The second goal is reevaluation, that is to review and repair the Orientalist and Indological narratives, primarily Western narratives about Hindu culture and civilization. For 200, 250, 300 years now, the West has been speaking about Hinduism, and all manner of people have joined the Western narratives stream, and it's extremely negative and denigrates Hinduism from all possible directions. That needs to be re-evaluated and repaired, meaning corrected in some ways. And for that, we need to clearly create a community of scholars, academicians, people who are committed to writing and publishing and engaging with the world. So that's an important goal. The third is contribution. Articulate and offer a Hindu dharmic perspective and a spiritual corrective to an unsustainable and hyper-competitive world. So the hyper-competitive world creates a very sharp distinction between winners and losers. It exploits the environment. It creates tremendous karmic, influences that cascade across generations, and in fact jeopardizes the well-being of future generations. In other words, the current generation seems to, uh, you know, uh, continually, in some ways, jeopardize the well-being of future generations. Uh, and this has to be corrected in some fundamental way. So all of this is the basic vision, mission, goals, and objectives. Now, I think somebody's raised their hand. I will stop for a moment here. Let me take a couple of questions. Vaibhavariji, where are you?
Yeah, I had a question. I was just wondering
Yeah,
how you defined Indological narrative.
yeah. Have you taken the orientation course,
I have not.
Vaibhavariji? Yeah, I think
No.
you should take a course. Okay.
Okay.
See, we will get into great depth on these matters in the courses. Okay.
Okay.
So, an Indology is the Western view of Hinduism or India and Hinduism in a very simple way. It's the Western narrative about India, the Western gaze of India, Western way of understanding. That is Indology. Okay, so in principle, but now we'll unfold this very carefully and systematically in the Orientation to Hindu Studies course. That's all I'm going to say for now, if that's okay with you.
Okay.
Okay, good. All right. Any other questions, anybody? I see Ramesh Shaji here. Nice. Namaste.
We have one
Oh,
question in the Q&A box just about
okay.
our plan to advertise and get into other countries, United Kingdom, Australia, Germany, and we've done that. We've even altered some courses to be more convenient
Yeah.
for other time zones. That is definitely one of the paths we are taking because the Hindu diaspora is global. And one particular community that I've gotten really interested in the history of is the Jahajis or the uh, Girmitya Hindu population, who were taken across the world as indentured servants and still have connected to the Vedic traditions in different ways, and it's inspiring.
Okay. Good. So let me continue. Okay. Ankur, can you continue to elevate some of the attendees into panelists, if you
Yeah,
can,
please
please?
accept the invitation when I promote you to a panelist. I can't just put you on here without you accepting.
Okay, great. All right. So here we go. So we're gonna continue now. So really, the opportunity that we are working on is to, you know, the get the timeless voice of Vedic Hindu wisdom to speak, to express itself in a contemporary way, in contemporary domains. And what are some of these domains? For example, the domain of pluralism and cross-cultural understanding. Now, the Hindus have a lot to say about promoting pluralism and coexisting with cultures and traditions which often get into conflict with each other. The sustainable ecosystems and climate change, holistic health and emotional well-being, both yoga, Ayurveda, yoga psychology, all of these are domains for exploration. Leadership, business, ethics, public service, the presence of dharma in the public square more generally, education, families and communities, again transmission of dharma through the basic units of human existence, families and communities, inequality, scarcity, poverty, and what is increasingly called social justice, which is in a competitive uh, world. If you constitute the world in terms of the survival of the fittest, and the winner takes all, you get inequality as a byproduct. There's no way around it, and that's another important area where Hindu thought can contribute. Conflict, violence, terror, and peace. Obviously, that's a very important area. And ultimately, the liberal arts, social sciences, and humanities themselves can use, I believe, a a certain grounding and a respect for the Hindu world, the Hindu world view, the Hindu thought, etc. What we want to do is to enable exploration and contribution, to create a space for thoughtful research and publication. We want people to contribute Hindu thought to humanity and its future in its most general sense. And that last one should read three, to engage with the world as a Hindu with clarity and confidence. We want our students to eventually grow into ambassadors for Hindu thought who are able to engage the world as a Hindu with clarity and confidence. And you don't fold up and surrender the moment somebody says, oh, but what about the caste system? We need to get beyond that, getting beaten down by the stick called caste system. Now, we've set up a strategic plan for the year 2021-2022, and it's probably going to continue beyond. We may fine tune it, but you can pretty much consider this as our working plan for the next several years, at least 2-3 years. So the first goal is to continue to expand the scale and mix of student base. We want to expand both the continuing education student base. We want to expand the graduate student base. Our next milestone is 1,000 students registering per quarter in the continuing education and graduate courses. We need to get to 100 students in the graduate programs. We want to develop and execute a youth engagement strategy that's successful in engaging young people who are the, if you want to engage the next generation, they have to participate. And today, it's not easy to engage them. Number four is increase international student participation, which is definitely touching upon reaching out to other places, Europe, Australia, South Africa, Girmithya countries, Bharat, Nepal, neighborhood of Bharat, and so on. Next objective is to strengthen our programs, faculty, and administration. We want to increase the range of certification programs, stabilize and strengthen our core doctoral faculty, expand the variety of continuing education offerings, as well as faculty who are teaching them, expand capacity by strengthening the administration staff. Already at 500 plus registrations per quarter, processing those registrations, getting them properly situated in the LMS, signing their user ID, and starting the classes successfully, especially when half the registrations happen in the last 1 week of the deadline, is quite challenging, and we want to continually expand on that. The third and the most probably one of the pillars is to ensure financial sustainability for 5 years into the future. We want to raise sustenance funds to ensure a 5-year runway, meaning at any given time, at any point in time, when we look out into the future, we are able to see that we can sustain ourselves for 5 years. We have enough money in the bank to support our administration, our faculty, and all our operations for 5 years into the future. Are we there yet? Not at all. We are able to look out only for 1 year at a time right now. We need to get beyond that to 2 years, then to 3 years, and then to 5 years. We want to establish a range of named scholarship funds, named funds, family-based funds, gurus and acharyas-based funds, which can be awarded to students. We want to increase the number of engaged high-value donors, people who are willing to participate in the development of the university. We want to develop a pathway for capital gifts, legacy gifts, endowment gifts, and so on. All of these are very critical opportunities for the growth of the university. Provide leadership in shaping the Hindu narrative. This is very important. I noticed two people are raising your hands. I'm going to pause after this slide and take your questions. What does it mean to provide leadership in shaping the Hindu narrative? Well, we have a particular interpretation of that. Number one, and this is where our faculty are most focused on, is elevate the quality of writing and publishing that emerges from this university. We want to be able to publish on a contemporary international standard, a standard that can withstand any amount of peer review and scrutiny. We want to develop the Institute of Advanced Studies, which is an idea at the moment. It's not yet activated. Ultimately, we want to create a pathway towards a publishing capability of our own, whether in partnership with an established publishing house or to situate our own publishing house. Either way, we need to have a capability. And we want to establish foundations for new centers of excellence, and maybe contribute towards some kind of a global think tank. And lastly, we are very committed and focused on securing accreditation for the university and strengthening the HUA brand. We are working on this. We're developing and executing on an accreditation roadmap. We want to expand state authorizations to multiple states beyond the state of Florida. We want to execute partnerships, memorandums of understandings, and affiliate relationships with other like-minded institutions, and ultimately increase the media and brand presence of the university. Okay, so this is our broad strategic plan. Let me pause on this note to take a couple of questions. Okay. Yeah. Mr. T.R. Reddy, you had to.
Yes.
Can you kindly open your video camera so we can see, please?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay.
We can see you.
I have a question probably unrelated to the university, but
Mhm.
still on Hindu. You mentioned earlier Indologists.
Yeah.
I'm sure you know all the Indologists believe Aryan migration theory is a myth.
Mhm. Yeah.
Do you agree on that or don't?
No, no. See, listen, sir. See, this is not the occasion for this
No,
conversation.
I understand, but
Yeah.
I do have
So,
a point I want to make it. Okay, I
yeah,
think
I know, but you are distracting the conversation. Are you aware of
okay,
that?
then that's fine then. Okay,
Uh,
you're a
see,
Hindu, you should believe something which has been
no, no,
denigrated, which has been insulted the Hindu community for three, 400 years. I think we
that's
should
right.
take it upon ourselves to correct the history books in America and all over the world.
Okay.
Okay.
So kindly.
I'm sorry. That's all. That's fine. Thank you.
Okay. So see, the question of the Aryan invasion theory and how it originated, and the consequences that it has generated for the world is very systematically analyzed and addressed in several courses at HUA. Okay. We look at it briefly in the Orientation to Hindu Studies course. We look at it in depth in a course called Aryanism and Indology, which is a graduate level course. We look at the phenomenon of race the theory of race theory as it got constructed in Europe, and how it cascaded into the Hindu world in a graduate level course called Race and Modern Hinduism. And then we also look at how the theories of race impacted Hindu thinkers and how they assimilated and started organizing themselves in terms of Hindu reform movements. So the whole thing is exploded in tremendous detail. So therefore, if you want to get into it, you have to take the courses. And if you don't
One
take
other
courses,
course, Reconstructing Hindu History with Dr. Rajvedam, which I took this last quarter, where we systematically, week by week, went into the genetics, the archaeology, the archaeo history, all those different aspects, not just of Aryan invasion theory, but the broader construction of the Hindu history from the European perspective. And there's a second half of that course.
The conspiracy by the Britishers make us look like idiots.
Yeah.
Okay. We brought the civilization, we brought the Sanskrit from Europe. They say this Max Muller says Sanskrit was brought from Europe. Where is it? Can you find one place anywhere in the world? Anyway,
Reddy ji, I understand you want to express yourself.
Your course is to understand the theory. We don't need to understand theory. It never existed. Okay, it's a myth. Okay, if you read any of these Indologists,
I need to mute you. Sorry, sir. I'm going to mute you because you're completely distracting, the conversation. So you're going to have to kindly extend me the courtesy of not doing this. Participate in a course. Let's get into it. We'll have a lot more serious discussion in the courses. Today is not the occasion for the course. I'm very, very sorry about that. But, see, we had at some level honor the conversation that is being had right now. Okay, next, who else had their hand up?
Namaste, Kamanji.
Yes, Michaela.
My name is Michaela Shepard. I am a new student to HUA, and I just wanted to point out a couple things. As the Western society continues at this breakneck pace that is completely unsustainable, we have found that yoga and Ayurveda, all these different things are gaining widespread popularity. I think that it's extremely important I was looking at your plan, and as you bolster the academics, I hope that we are, I don't know if there's any type of way to do research as far as like what cities have large Hindu populations or potentially Hindu populations. I also believe that a number of Westerners who identify as spiritual but not religious are going to be continually attracted to Hindu Dharma, and there will in fact be a major Hindu renaissance. And lastly, I don't know if this has been considered or not, but the GI Bill from the VA would be something that I think would be very beneficial financial wise when the accreditations get into to place. So I just wanted to submit my humble comments, and thank you so much.
Yeah, very good, Michaela. I think all of what you said is very, very valid.
Kalyanji, I have very quick. Kalyanji, if I may, very quickly,
yeah,
I want to
one
inject
second.
a thought.
I'll come to you in just a minute. Give me 1 minute.
Sure.
Okay. I just want to acknowledge what Michaela said, which is that the spiritual but not religious community in America, in the West, they may not always know and recognize where the knowledge and the wisdom is originally coming from, because it gets restated and repackaged and rearticulated, and it's a very natural place for them to come to, the moment that they begin to recognize the source texts of the traditions and so on. So, Michaela, it's a very good point what you're saying. The GI Bill perspective you brought up is also very important. Once the university gets accredited, all those possibilities will become much more real and can be enabled. Okay. All right, Prabhat Tekriwal, your turn.
Thank you, Kalyanji. Just a quick thought, being in the company of interfaith community, of different religions, faiths and all that, yeah. I do feel that Hinduism comes closer, the closest to humanism, or for the welfare of the, humans in general, the Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. So that kind of thought, a comparative thought perhaps, might be something to work on.
Okay. So Prabhaji, have you taken any course with Hindu University of America so far?
I have not. I have written few articles, and because of the timing, but I have been very consistent attendee in your Saturdays
webinars,
conversations, very consistently, more or less.
Okay,
Uncle
wonderful.
Can perhaps ascertain that.
I would say, the best way, to participate in the conversation of the university is to get into the courses, because then we take it much deeper rather than very surface level, superficial discussions. I don't want to sound like maybe I do want to sound like this, but the thing is, we have to move beyond the superficial conversations. that is the whole possibility of the university. Okay, all right, great. Next, Sashiji, go ahead. You have your hand up.
Yeah. Namaste to everyone. I'm Shashi from Western Australia. I'm currently doing orientation to Hindu studies. I'm so much mesmerized with the course and the quality contents. And I got a question and thoughts which is coming up together. For example, in America, you got more than 800 temples. That means you have probably more than 2,000 Hindu priests, and probably they are all English speaking. Is there any mechanism to engage with the temple management and get a sponsorship and train them, and at least orientation to Hindu studies, so that they know what they're talking about when Hindu devotees come to the temple, or even Westerners come to the temple, they know how to explain the things. Because last time when I was in a temple, it's around 10 years back in America, the Hindu priest couldn't even able to explain a small thing to the local person, Westerner, and he was trivializing it. I was so disappointed. It's just a thought. Thank you.
Yeah, so it's a valid point, and I think that interface between the university and the mandirs, both via the mandir administration as well as the community of purohitas, okay, is again another fragile interface. Let me put it this way, because it seems to be a natural fit. It ought to be a natural fit, but it's not. And it's sometimes we have been trying to engage with mandirs, and where we are successful, where we've had some good traction, is when a member of a board of trustees of a mandir actually ends up taking a course. We've had a founder of a mandir or a board of trustee member of a mandir who took the orientation to Hindu studies course, and then he becomes such a passionate ambassador for the university within the mandir. Only then there is some traction. Even then he gets blocked by the people, by the other members of the board of trustees. So it's an interesting challenge to overcome. Okay, but your point is well taken. There is a lot of work to be done there, and we anticipate more and more work in that regard. Okay, all right. There is a lot more hands up, but I'm going to take a few more minutes to complete my presentation, and then we'll go on and on for as long as we want. Okay, so bear with me, and then we'll come back and take everybody's questions. So we are currently working with a funding framework as follows. Okay, a working framework for funding. The most important thing is sustenance funds to keep the lights on. And on top of that, we want to build support for faculty, support for students, support for infrastructure. And then on top of that, we want to be able to build specialized capabilities such as departments, chairs, professorships, schools and colleges, facilities, etc. So this is the framework. And where are we at right now? Well, we've set up a roadmap. We started with this roadmap in 2019. We are in 2021 today. We have so far been able to accumulate $2.7 million in donations on a track, on a roadmap which calls for 6 million as a major milestone and then 30 million as the next milestone. And during the same period, and this is where we want to be. The 6 million is our immediately significant milestone. During the same period, we have kind of advanced. We've gone to 1,400 students. We are at least a year ahead of schedule in the number of students that we envisioned as per the original plan. So where this puts us is we are ahead on student enrollments, but maybe just a little bit behind on donations to the university. So that brings up our fundraising kickoff. We are actually kicking off the annual campaign, Guru Purnima Day. And our target for this year is $2.5 million. And at the time of launch, that is as of today, we already raised about $1.125 million, which is 45% of our target. And thanks to a significant donation of $1 million from Tarsadia Foundation by a person named Bikku Bhai Patel from Los Angeles, California. So I want to now stop and share with you a little bit about how we are going about it. So we are launching a new site. Okay, so this is the home page of the Hindu University of America. And if you go to the main page here, there is a button here which says join our 2021 annual fundraising initiative. If you click on this, you arrive at a site called the URL is give.hua.edu. And today is a formal launch of this part of the website. Okay, so here we have the advancement, initiatives, campaigns, and recognition. So under initiatives, we have two significant initiatives which we are launching today. The first is called the 2021-2022 Annual Giving Initiative. The other is called the Scholarship Fund Initiative. Okay, so let me now go to the act. So these are some of the active campaigns, but I want to start by taking you to the Annual Giving Initiative, or maybe I'll click on the Initiatives tab. Gets you to the same two initiatives here. And from here, you can click on the Annual Giving Initiative page. You arrive at this page, and this will fill up in a minute. It takes a few seconds. Yeah. So against a target of 2.5 million, we have raised 1.125 million already. And the initiative is organized in terms of a series of campaigns. And we put a few campaigns in place here. So there's a California campaign, which has really taken off thanks to that $1 million donation. We have a Florida campaign, New York, New Jersey campaign. We've set up like 6 campaigns here. And our suggestion is you join one of these, any one of these, depending on where you live, whichever is closest to you. So let's see. Let's take a little bit of time to load, unfortunately. Yeah. So here we are. This is all the campaigns: California, Florida, New York, New Jersey, Texas, Western states, and so on. So if I click on the donate now button, it takes you to the California campaign. Again, here, take a few seconds to load up the. Yeah. So here we reached 66.86% of this target here. And here are the list of donors who contributed. And clearly, Tarsaria Foundation is the one big donation that responsible for this. Now, you can click any one of these, credit, debit. Click on this, it will open up a donation page from where you can contribute very easily. Your secure donation will immediately be recorded, and you'll show up on this panel depending on which campaign you picked. So this is the new capability that we are launching as of today. And I want to invite all of you to participate in one or more ways. Okay, the obvious way is to contribute something. I'd like to get to at least 200 people or 500 people contributing $1,000, $1,008 to the university. That's a simple plan which we can definitely execute. The other way you can contribute is to simply encourage people in your lives, in your acquaintances, your community, your people who trust you, to take on the contributing to the university. Okay, so Ankur, if you can please put the link of the homepage, give.hua.edu, in the chat window. Kindly please visit the page and get this going. This campaign will keep running for the next 5 months till December 31st, or until we reach the milestone, whichever is sooner. I mean, if somebody comes along and gives us another $1 million and the campaign is over in a month, maybe we'll just wrap it up and say, yes, we're done for the year. But until we reach that milestone, we should all put our shoulder to the wheel and do the best that we can. Okay, so that is my what I wanted to say for today. But now we'll take questions, and we can spend as much time as we want on Q&A. And I wonder if the gentleman who was asking questions, he probably left, I think. Yeah, okay. Chris Mittal, your turn, please. You got your hand up.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Kalyanji. I have taken 4 courses so far.
Wonderful.
This semester I have not enrolled, but I do plan to continue later. This semester, as you mentioned, because the COVID thing, we are traveling only now. So that's one thing kept us away. The one is a comment or a question rather, because you mentioned accreditation of the university.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, to get the accreditation, do you have to have other kind of courses than just the Hindu thing? Do you have to have like English and like physics, chemistry? That
No, not at all. Okay, so this is a very interesting question. Okay, and I'm going to address it somewhat completely. See, in America, in the United States of America, there are 2 kinds of universities. There are what are considered secular, liberal, mainstream universities, and then there are schools of divinity or theological schools.
Yes.
Okay, so for example, Harvard Divinity School is a theological school. Yale Divinity School is a theological school. Princeton Theological Seminary is a theological school. The Union Theological Seminary in New York City is a theological school. The Graduate Theological Union in Berkeley, California is a theological school. There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them all over North America. Okay. Now, Hindu University of America is registered as a theological school. Okay. Which means what? Which means at the moment, it is constrained by the state of Florida to offer only programs related to Hinduism. Okay, so that's a very finite, very restricted set of categories. You know, so we can do counseling, we can do chaplaincy, we can do, you know, adjacent writing and disciplines that are adjacent to the Hinduism, the teaching of Hinduism. For Hindu University of America to become a mainstream university and start offering programs in engineering and medicine and all of that, it'll have to go through what's called as a substantive change application with the state of Florida. So that's in brief the
In
status.
context of getting accreditation, can we get accreditation as just as you mentioned this schools of divinity?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So what's stopping us?
No, we are working on it. We're working on it. So in other words, you see, there are. I mean, we've made a list of some 40 odd areas of evaluation for accreditation.
Okay.
Okay, it ranges from administration or policies and procedures or policies for hiring faculty, qualifications of faculty, program learning objectives, how we conduct our strategic plan, you know, the presence of a library. Do we have a full-time librarian who's a qualified librarian? I mean, on and on and on. There are like 40 odd set of criteria that the accreditation agencies look for.
Are there other religious divinity schools like Islam and Jewish or?
Yeah, there are.
There are.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
So we are lacking still. Okay.
Only Hindus don't have.
Yeah, the only other question I have at this time is you mentioned the payments can be made debit, credit, but can we make by a check?
Yeah, definitely. There, right on that page, there is an address.
There is a provision. Okay,
you can do
that's
that.
all.
Yeah, no problem.
So the amount of contribution I'll talk later.
Wonderful, wonderful. No problem.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay, Jayashree Pilarisetti, you have your hand up, please. Please open your video camera as well. Yeah, and your audio.
Yeah, hello. I've taken the orientation to Hindu studies course, and I've been very impressed with it. And I have tried to enlighten my friends, or rather just talk about it, or to tell them, how valuable this is and how it opens up a new perspective and how it's important to transmit it to the next generation. But I've received a lot of pushback even from my own group of friends, several groups, WhatsApp groups, discussions. Some of them not believing in Hinduism at all. Some of them again saying, it's all about caste and not having good experiences in India. Some about, how does it even matter now, how it was in the past. So how do you answer that or deal with them to kind of convince them, or at least to help them take a course so they can see what the truth is?
Yeah, it's difficult, Jayashree. All I can say is my sympathies are with you. Because see what colonization has done. Being colonized, our Hindus actually have come to believe that the future lies with Westernization. And in fact, after independence, even in India, the conversation that was set in motion was Hinduism must be left behind in the past. The future lies with science, technology, secularism, and Westernization. Right? But so it's an uphill struggle. All I want to tell you is, if you think it's a worthwhile struggle, you can persist with it. That's all. And at the end of the day, each of us have to make a call on that as to whether we think it is worthwhile or not. Who knows? You see, the good thing about Hinduism, I'll tell you, is that people who are dead against Hinduism when they are 20, 30, 40, and 50, they start reading the Ramayana when they're 70. And they start trying to figure out what is Tulsi Ramayana, what is Valmiki, what is this, what is that. And they go back and read a couple of verses of the Bhagavad Gita, and then they start wondering, how come nobody ever taught me all this? They get really upset. So therefore, in some ways, Hinduism is very patient. Very, very patient. So you have to let them be, and allow them to come when they are ready. But my hope is there are more people that are ready who we have not been able to connect with yet. And hopefully that itself will create momentum. Okay, next, Ganesh K.
Namaste, Kalyanji.
Yes, please.
So the question I had was that we have this, and we don't differentiate between Ayurveda. Is Ayurveda being taught in any of these universities? Is that even a subject that can be taught through HUA?
Yeah, great question. See, if you go to the National Institute of Health, NIH website, and you look for Ayurveda, there is a page in which it will say Ayurveda belongs to some kind of complementary and alternate medicine framework, but it is not validated with adequate evidence-based research. Okay, so in other words, it both admits Ayurveda as a legitimate domain of study, but at the same time, it also delegitimizes it immediately by saying that it is not backed up by adequate research. Now, are there institutions where Ayurveda is being studied in the United States? Yes, there are. They're not perhaps mainstream institutions, but you have a Kerala College of Ayurveda in Bay Area. You have something called the California College of Ayurveda in somewhere in Los Angeles area, and then you have institutes like the the Institute of what's it called, Ayurveda of Vasant Lad in New Mexico, and a few other places. Okay, as far as Hindu University of America is concerned, do we want to have an Ayurveda program? Absolutely, absolutely. We want to have an end-to-end Ayurveda program with the capability for clinical research, for doing thorough examination of Ayurvedic principles and ideas, build up the evidentiary gap, whatever gap there is by way of evidence that needs to be filled up in a contemporary paradigm. We have to invest in filling that up. And I believe Ayurveda has an enormous future. We need to have the ability to do diagnosis, to treat, to establish clinics, to grow Ayurvedic compounds. We need to have Ayurvedic farms. I mean, that discipline needs to be revived in a substantive way and legitimized and validated. It's a bit of a long road, but if we get behind it properly, it can be done. And so, I mean, are we committed to it? Yes, absolutely.
Will the divinity designation allow that? Ayurvedic
we will work through with that designation. See, after we get accredited as a divinity school, we are going to go through a substantive change application where we will open up the space to have other kinds of programs. This university cannot remain a mere divinity school forever. Okay. See, Harvard College was established in the 1600s. Harvard College, it was a divinity school. Now, in 1800s, 1820 or thereabouts, Harvard Howard College was designated as Howard Divinity School and became part of Howard University. In other words, what was previously a mere divinity school became a university. So today, if you go to Harvard campus in Boston, you will see Harvard Medical School, Harvard Law School, Harvard Business School, and a Harvard Divinity School, all in the same campus area. Similarly, Hindu University of America is today a divinity school, and it will get accredited as a divinity school. That's only the first step. Then it will expand. It will become a more substantive school and have many other disciplines and programs. And the divinity school will become one part, obviously a central part of the university, but one of the parts of the university. So that's the roadmap. And by that time, Ayurveda will become fully, hopefully we can situate it fully in the university. Okay, Padma ji, you have your hand up. Rajendra Paul ji has your hand up. Yeah. Padma ji, go ahead, please.
Namaste, Kalyanji.
Yes.
I want to tell everybody that I'm taking I also attended a lot of these webinars starting some from last summer, but then now I'm taking the orientation studies. So I really recommend, we just finished our class number 2 yesterday. So I really recommend everyone to take that class. We are learning a lot, even though we think we know, because we are born in the tradition of Sanatana Dharma, we think we know everything, but actually we don't know how to answer questions. So that will be my number one point. My question itself is that 2 things. One is, are we planning to hold any like workshops or seminars, the HUA, to involve faculty and university researchers from outside HUA, from sort of the mainstream people, to sort of bring some conversation with the people who have the authority right now, who hold the authority right now, rightfully or wrongfully. And the second one is, I know you mentioned the sort of the cold reception you're getting from Hindu temples, or not so warm reception, but I do think that we sort of have to somehow, explore this further, because a lot of the school groups, college groups, and even mainstream Westerners or people from US go to temples and they get some explanation about a temple tour, and they come back with whatever ideas they had already. It just get reinforced, entrenched, because our temple priests, even the temple officials, they keep using the word like idols. Mm-hmm. That's a no-no. You just don't want to use that word. And using mythology. Yeah, Ramana is our mythology. Because they have a certain idea of what mythology is and what idol is. Yeah. So we want to use the right vocabulary, like the non-transibles, murti, etc. So some kind of a workshop to involve them, to sort of, I wouldn't use the word force, but sort of really, really strongly encourage them, or to at least use a short course, a 3-day course, a 2-day course or something. Yeah. And also the last point is any chaplaincy program, because a lot of the universities are not hiring Hindu chaplains, but they have 3 Muslim chaplains, and 5 Episcopalian, this, that. We do, and they won't let you be a chaplain unless you go through the chaplaincy program, even the US Army for that matter.
Yeah, I think all of them are valid, very good questions. They're all opportunities for the university. We need to work on it, and at the bottom line, you see, to expand along all these fronts, the fundraising becomes most important in being able to see. We tried to for a long time, we tried to build this university on the strength of just volunteers, and it didn't work. Because the amount of heavy lifting you need to do to build a university is significant. And so now we are working with part-time people who are earning some money from Hindu University of America, but they also have other things they are doing in their lives. And we need to go into more full-time operation where our ability to fully get behind these initiatives is very, very important. But your points are all very well done, very well made, okay, all of them.
Yeah, just the chaplaincy program is really, really important, because what happens is that if you want to become a chaplain now, they are going through the typical Christian divinity school and then coming out. it's really, otherwise we won't make inroads in colleges and like the defense and other organizations.
So here's a question, right? If we worked very hard and put together a master's program in Hindu chaplains, say, okay, and we launched it, do you think there'll be enough applicants for that program from the Hindu community? Or in other words, the question is this: there is a demand from hospitals, from the army, from universities, from other environments. There is a demand for Hindu chaplains. That's for sure. There's no doubt about it. But is there a demand from within the Hindu community to want to become chaplains? I mean, that's where the gap is. Our community would rather become engineers, scientists, medical doctors, business people, and so on. So there is a little bit of calibration that has to happen there in order to promote. Indraniji is asking, HUA used to have a chaplaincy program. What happened to it? Well, what happens to your program when there are no students? That's what happened. See, as I said at the beginning, in the Guru Purnima, I said, it is the Shishya who makes the Guru, not the Guru. Guru can keep on shouting and screaming, I'm a Guru. He or she is not a Guru until there are some Shishyas. So it is the students who make the university. I mean, a university becomes a university because of its students. So the chaplaincy program, unless it is properly filled with enough students year after year, it is not a sustainable entity. So that's why we had to engineer that carefully. And Padmaji, it's worth having a conversation because you're probing a very important issue there, right there.
I just one quick thing. I know Northwestern University, there's a very young man who has become a chaplain, I think a graduate of the same university. He's probably in his late 20s. I have to find out how he got his chaplain certification, but he's pretty young. He's graduated in the last 3-4 years from the same university.
Yeah, very good. Okay, Kalyani Raghavan or Rajendra Paul. You had your hand up, Rajendra Paul ji? You had to unmute yourself.
Mute. Okay. Thank you for. I took course last semester, and this semester I registered for 2. Because I think you get what you put in, and I think this will be true for Hindu University also. It is, we have to put in if we want to make it happen. So 2 thoughts main. United States being the capitalist country that it is, where everything needs money, I think money side is important and is like a vital sign. It's a vital sign to live here, to grow as a university, to have a subway, everything needs money. There, the community has money. The question is kind of, I think, really in this second phase, many people do not know the new question. Like, I still consider myself new to understanding HUA.
Yeah.
And so it is a long process, but there are emotions like we saw earlier today that the community is trying to figure out how to channel it. And HUA, in my humble opinion, is outside of the business world, the only like an intellectual place. Many temples, Krishna temple has its traditional, tremendous intellectual heritage. They are very successful in sharing, convincing in fun ways, but not in a university way. Yeah. This university way of doing intellectual aspects in America, I think there are 2 points I want to make on that. One is what goes in, like what is in the bag that HUA offers, some of which was discussed today, and I have some other things, but mostly discussed. One other thing, and the second bag is sort of what comes out. So I have a friend who is from IIT Mumbai, His one daughter is a professor at Johns Hopkins, and his son is a chef in Buffalo, New York. So this aspect of our focus on valuable production, the good jobs, that is not going to change. However, our community does have some kids who don't quite see it that way. So we have to, like, I feel like in my house last week, my daughter Ria said, Babu, I want to go in ecological science.
Right.
And that is a very big fertile area. Seattle has, I will just 4-5 cents, I will try to come quickly. Seattle has Bainbridge Graduate Research Institute focused totally on sustainability, and the Kenmore College here, Bastyr, on Ayurveda. But to get to the point, I think, so that the way this, it will be a little tough. It is like a startup. We got to kind of try and figure out, and first failure doesn't mean it will fail next time. In fact, you know how this builds. Iteration is the key, which is easier in business, but difficult in university, little bit. I feel like that is the disadvantage. So to come to the main thing, I wanted to sort of hopefully relevant to this little startup called Hindu University of America. One is in what goes in this that will attract people. I feel I am in the bucket where, just like you said, they grow 70 and then they said, how come I don't know? I think there is a substantial population of those people, and I am a living example of that. I have been 8 years. So for this group, I don't feel totally qualified to speak about what HUA offers. But as you mentioned in the intro to studies, I think HUA needs to do a Hinduism 101. Just clear. I think a lot of people, I would love to tell my friends, dude, don't come to 70 and wish you knew what Hinduism is. Just take this 1 or 2 course or whatever it is. I think this part is internally needed. And I think lots of the pain points or comments that I see again and again, including in my own life and my family, I want to be able to offer that. I think if this can do, this is a good chunk that how many will register or not, but I think just like you said, I think it just seems natural. We need a Hinduism, you know.
Actually, Rajendra, see, we have 3 courses going on this quarter right now. One is the Orientation to Hindu Studies course. The other is called Discovering the Contemporary Relevance of Hinduism course. And the third is called Exploring Hinduism for Teenagers and Parents. You know, all 3 are kind of 101. So it's not like, you know, so the courses are there already. It's a matter of reaching people and enabling them to participate.
So thank you for correcting me. I feel really ignorant about the university also, but this is my way of knowing, I guess. By asking questions, one comes to know. The on the other side of the this bucket, what comes out, I feel the strongest areas there will be the ones where people can get gainful employment quickly, even if it is difficult. This persistence is the key. Many startups fail, but then they get second round, and I think similar process will apply here, having been part of several startups here in Seattle area. So what is needed is there, what is needed to sustain it is there, but still it is, like you said, heavy lifting to create this institution. And that part, I actually, if you would allow me to be honest with you so far, I feel based on my experience, the Hinduism studies, like my experience, very painful facts are shared, real but painful. And there is no outlet to sort of channel it yet. One area perhaps HUA can definitely say, you know, there is a need for 200. We want to fill up South Asia studies with South Asians. Like, it's nothing abnormal about it. All other communities do. and go after that, engage with universities, Ayurveda. So in this sort of, but it has to be done in a way that is Hinduism. Right now it is in English.
Yeah.
So
Rajendra,
there are few language and I think the spirit of the program, academic versus some tweak is needed in these two, is my feedback I wanted to share with you based on my direct experience.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Okay. So, see, I mean, it is a well understood, well known, and well recognized fact that if somebody who graduates in Hindu studies will not immediately get gainful employment anywhere. Okay. And that is the condition in which we find ourselves, because there isn't a mature ecosystem out there which has created demand for scholars of Hinduism. Okay. So how do we adapt to this environment? How do we create the ecosystem where the demand gets generated, which is non-existent today? I mean, it's one of the challenges we are going to continually face over the next years and even decades. Okay, so it is not without understanding that we have stepped into this domain. Okay, we understand there is no demand. Demand has to be created. See, if you think from a business standpoint, you only fulfill demand that already exists. But here we have a problem called there is no demand. And how do you create demand? So, we are thinking as creatively as we can about this. Have we exhausted all avenues of thought around this? Not at all. Are we open to new ideas? Yeah, definitely. As long as we can operate within the constraints that we have right now, both financial and legal and logistical, etc., we'll definitely pursue all of these avenues. So that would be my response to that. Yeah. So let's go to Kalyani Raghavan. Vibhavari, you still have
I will be very brief.
Yeah,
I just wanted to reiterate what the previous speaker spoke about the chaplaincy program.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I used to follow Hindu University of America for quite some time since it started. And I was really disappointed in the way they were doing things. I think this is a new iteration, and I'm so happy that, you are reaching out much more than they used to in the past.
Yeah.
And I think we have to disseminate that, this is available, and also let people know what is, you can do with the chaplaincy program, because it is so widely applicable to so many different places. And, I think that if you know what can be done, in my own experience, my mother just was on hospice and we just couldn't find any Hindu chaplains to help. And she, all they were sending out was a Christian.
Yeah.
And, I think that those are lost opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank
That's
you.
a very good point. So Kalyani, may I ask you, have you taken any courses with HUA this time around?
No, I plan to. I do plan to. In the past, every course that was there was in person, and that is just not possible for people who are working and trying to make a living.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think with COVID happening and Zoom happening, and
See, I think I don't know what the thing was with COVID-19 and HUA. We went online. We didn't anticipate COVID. COVID came along, and now everybody's online. So initially people said, in fact, I'll tell you the story, right? One of our most senior faculty members told us when I approached him to come to HUA and teach online. He said, "What? Online? I never teach online. I only teach students whom I can see in front of me." No, I begged and pleaded and said, no, please come to HUA, it's online. You'll learn how to do online and all that. And then a few months later, well into the pandemic, he says, "Oh, I'm so grateful you invited me to HUA because I have now learned how to teach online. And my colleagues in my university, they're all behind me. They don't know how to do online yet. So it was a good, interesting sort of conundrum here. So, yeah, very good. Kalani, please join the Orientation to Hindu Studies course.
I will. Thank you.
Vibhavari, do you have a question?
Yeah, I did. Since we have a little more time, I just had a follow-up to the Indology. The reason I asked it is because I think of it as a neutral word. I read it as Indian studies. And when you were describing the mission, I detected a certain, more narrower meaning. So I wanted to understand that more. And it's a shame that a neutral word would have this, color added to it.
See, I'll tell you, Vibhavari, the way to understand it is like this, Vibhavari. See, one of the things that the Western academia does very well, it promotes extremely biased and narrow views into neutral words, into neutral sounding words. Okay. Now, see, I'm making a statement that you'll probably be immediately in argument with that. Okay.
Well, I'd want to think about it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't argue right away, but
right.
yeah.
So the thing is, see, what you consider. You see, I'll give you an example. In fact, I mean, I should. I would rather ask you to take the Orientation to Hindu Studies course. It's a better way to get into this subject than try to explain it in a webinar type of setting. Okay, because time is limited, we cannot go very deeply into the subject. And in Orientation to Hindu Studies course, what happens is you go through a series of readings, and an idea that's presented in class 1, even though it's kind of perplexing and intriguing for you in class 1, it'll get developed further in session 2, and it'll get developed further in session 3. And by the time you come to session 10, it gets really settled. Okay. So that kind of deepening of understanding and perspective is very hard to do in a few minutes in a casual question. So that's why, the gentleman who wanted to test us in the beginnings just tell me, do you believe in the Aryan invasion theory or not? I mean, that's unfortunately that kind of casual and simplistic test is not useful to engage in a setting like this. Okay, so Indology, Indology is the study of India, particularly Indian antiquity, by the West.
And that bothers me because there are plenty of Indian Indologists too.
Indian Indologists, to the extent they have become Indologists, they are regurgitating what the West is saying about India.
Exactly.
Okay, I didn't even know that this connotation existed for that word. So I mean, that's good to learn.
Absolutely.
But I have to research more to see, what this is all about.
So Vibhavari, on your own you can research it, but I would invite you to take the orientation course and then come to your conclusion about the matter, because you can come in as skeptical as you wish about this matter. Okay. But by the end of the course, you will have a perspective which is very grounded and very, very formed on the basis of readings and perspectives and a much deeper understanding of the matter. But I can tell you, Indology looks like a very neutral, objective science. It almost sounds like a science. We'll show you how it is not a science in the course.
Yeah. I had two more quick points.
Yeah, please.
One is, the Saturday webinars. So like the gentleman who attends very regularly, I do too, not quite as regularly. And I haven't taken any course because of time constraints, but I did want to just, really support the webinars because, for people who can devote 1 hour a week, great. It's really quite fantastic. So, so even though it might be, just touching on different subjects, it's still very valuable. So.
Great, thank you. I appreciate you saying that, because it is a service to the community, And I hope it is also an invitation and some form for people to take a deeper look at the university.
And the last point is, in the campaign, you have to associate with one of those areas to donate. Okay.
Yeah.
If you're in Seattle, you'll understand a little hesitation to push the California campaign.
You know what the remedy to this?
Yes, full respect to the Californians.
Yeah, right. So I'll tell you what the remedy to this particular predicament is, right? You gather enough Seattle people and create a campaign of your own.
All right.
And we'll set up a Northwest campaign or something like that, and then you can contribute to that. But there's got to be enough critical mass and leadership to launch a campaign. It can't be one or two people saying I want a campaign in my state. It's got to be more substantive than that.
Fair point. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So Narottamji is saying we have devoted most time on other subjects around Guru Parampara. Yeah, we started with Guru Purnima, but this program is about more than Guru Purnima. It is about the university itself and its future. Anybody else? Anybody who's not spoken? Ganesh, yeah, please.
There are many students who finish school and go to college, and is there some kind, and also so is there some kind of a certificate course or something like that that they can be introduced or they can complete at HUA? And is there a path laid out, like after I've completed the Hindu studies, the initial one, that is there like a set of courses that is like a path laid out, like a saying you take this course next and this course next, something like that?
Yeah. So see, we have at the moment we have a certificate program in Hindu studies, which we say is a group of 6 courses, or a total of 18 credit hours. Okay, and it's very flexible in terms of how you put it together. If you take literally any set of 18 credit hours, you can earn a certificate in Hindu studies basically at the moment. Okay, and it's extremely flexible in terms of how you choose and what you choose to put into that bucket of courses. Now, when you talk about people who are finishing school, see, finishing school, kids are interested in undergraduate programs, right? They are now on the threshold of an undergraduate program. That's a very big deal, and most students and most parents are concerned about professional programs, programs that are create pathways for professional employment and so on. So, all we at the moment have is, we don't have an undergraduate program. Let's see, what we have is a la carte courses, continuing education courses, a certificate program if possible, but not yet a reasonable undergraduate program. Will we have an undergraduate program in the future? Yeah, but after we get accredited with the graduate programs, that's when we will focus on pathways for enabling students right after school. Okay, Meenaji, you have your hand up. Keshavji, Meenaji first, and then Keshavji. Meenaji,
thank you. Namaste to everybody. I had taken 4 courses in Hindu universities, and I'm very, very impressed the way it is expressed and conducted. The teachers are such a great scholars, and I expect everybody who is attending here, they should at least attend the classes and take courses and have some idea what exactly they mean to say, rather than discussing without knowing the depth and either giving ideas or criticizing it. So I expect even all the adults, I understand kids have their education priorities and adults have their work and job priorities, but still we can find a time. We can find a time and do it at least one course at a time and educate ourselves, because we are the bridge between the previous generation and the new generation. And if you don't know how you can carry on to the next generation and expecting them to know the right way. So I really expect people, even at any age, doesn't matter you are retired, close to retire, or active or young, you must take some course at least, not only to support the system and the university, but educate yourself. Thank you.
Wonderful. Meenaji, that's great. Great to hear from you. So which courses have you taken so far, Meenaji?
I had taken the Valmiki Ramayana and Raj Vedant's both courses, Hinduism, Commission and Omission. And right now I'm taking teens, the introduction to Hinduism with the teens.
Exploring Hinduism.
Yeah, it's a little tedious because 3 times a week with the working people is kind of hard, but still, life is short. You have to learn.
Yeah, absolutely. So I look forward to seeing you in the orientation.
Yeah, next semester, because this time it was 3 days a week. It was too crowded for me.
Correct. Wonderful. All right, next, who did I call on next?
Keshav speaking.
Keshavji, please go ahead.
Hi, first of all, happy Guru Purnima to everybody, to you in particular. And I'm a student of Krishna Kashyap's class, TAT 4001.
Yeah.
I'm happy and his teachings are awesome. I appreciate. But getting into the Zoom, it was a problem. And even both the classes, I had to miss 20 minutes, 25 minutes class because of Zoom not getting connected. So Sumedha ji did send me the link to go through that, HU and the other one. But next time when I opened it to get connected, it vanished. So I'm having some trouble with that system. So anything, and one thing more I would like to say, I was introduced by Jagdish Grover, you know him very well. Company, and myself, my son, and my son-in-law also are investors in that company.
Oh, wonderful. All right, very good, sir. Great.
So I need help for getting that link.
So
I don't want to miss that class.
Yeah, absolutely. Ankur, make a note of Keshavji's name. Okay, we should get on a call. Sumedha should get on a call with him to resolve this problem.
Yeah, and just to add, our learning management system, once you get walk through it, you understand how to click it, the login and all that stuff, the links for each of our courses, the readings, all that information is accessible, and we're happy to walk you through it and make sure that it's we troubleshoot with you.
Yeah, for your information, I was census field supervisor and I know what is LMS and all that, but still link and all that is giving an issue. And other thing, I'm really thankful, and it's an awesome program that run by Hindu University, so that like the people need to know not only Hinduism, but Gita in particular. I'm a student of Gita for the last 20 years, and the messages what I'm getting and learning, that's awesome. And that's the gist of Gita. So that's even more and much more deeper than what the people talk superficially. I'm a student of Vedanta as well. I'm attending 4 or 5 classes on Gita and Vedanta and everything. So please help me, and I want to be an associated with this HUA. I'm a retired person.
Okay, wonderful. We'll definitely do that, sir. I think we'll definitely spend some time with you, make sure the issues are resolved for you. Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right. Great. Anybody else? Well, we'll close. We've been at it for a long time. Unless there's any last.
Shashiji has been patiently at.
Shashiji, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I have a question, but before that, I just want to reiterate the importance of structured studies. For example, from last 5 to 10 years, I was done all sort of independent research through YouTube, reading books by Rajiv Malhotra, going through Jaipur dialogues and all those stuff. But I just go through it and forget next day. So, but after entering to this course, I can really remember, connect the dots, etc. It's really wonderful. Now, my question is, you are going to prepare students every year. You are just 2-year-old now. And over a period of time, you may have some dynamic students who are willing to prepare their own papers or abstracts or some, on Indology. And no Western media or academia is going to publish their papers because that antagonizes their ideology. Do you have any plans or vision to establish your own publication house?
Yeah.
So that will be quite useful for the talented students of yours.
Yeah. So this is a great question, and I think in some form, Padmaji also asked the same question. You see, I'll start with this example, right? a couple of our faculty, Dr. Vishwa Adluri and Dr. Joydeep Bakchi, have published a book called Niche Science. Niche Science. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I heard it, yeah.
Yeah. It's a big book. It's like 500 pages, something like that. Okay, massive book. And it is an expose of German Indology. Okay. And it was published by Oxford University Press. Okay. Now, how did they manage to get it published by Oxford University Press? So it is possible. See, I think we should overcome the hypothesis that Hindus writing books, the books will never get published by established publishing houses. Okay, that's not really true. Of course, there's going to be tremendous resistance, and there's all manner of counterattack that's going on. Yet, in the engagement, in the kshetra of engagement, the engagement with the West. Adi Shankara engaged with Mandana Mishra. Today, you and I have to engage with the West, because the Western paradigm of what Hinduism is has become dominant. It's become enshrined in Indology, right? So to engage with them, we have to participate with them. Therefore, we have to do all of the above. All of the above. What are they? Number one, Hindu students graduating or in Hindu studies programs at HUA must attend international conferences, must present papers, must continually participate and have their voices be heard. Number one. Number two, Hindu University of America student graduates should publish books through Oxford University Press, through Bloomsbury, through Springer, through Anthem, and all manner of, through McGraw-Hill and all the mainstream publishers. And three, Hindu University of America should end up with its own press, HUA Press. Like Oxford University Press, we should have a Hindu University Press. All three are required. It's not either this or that. So the level of engagement between the Hindu world and the Western world, which clearly has taken over what we might call epistemic authority to speak about Hinduism, that engagement is very, very important, very, very critical, and our students must get prepared to participate in that space. That'd be my answer.
Thank you.
All right.
What about your opinion on self-publication through a reputed self-publication house that doesn't give any value, if I am not wrong?
Not really, sir. I mean, see, if you want to self-publish a book as a project just to be published and then to sell a few copies to your friends and some people fine. But there's nothing that's going to really, it's not comparable to getting published by Oxford University Press, Chicago University Press, or any of the other well-known mainstream publishers, because they are all well connected in the network. See, the publishing house is integrated within a huge network of knowledge producers, consumers, the university ecosystem, and so on, libraries, and so on. When Oxford University Press puts out a new book, that title is immediately distributed to thousands of outlets, which immediately get interested in the book just because it was published by Oxford University Press and so on. So that network, that intellectual network that the West has built, okay, universities, publishing houses, distributors, intermediaries, libraries, all of this is part of the intellectual infrastructure which imposes a particular view about India and Hindus on us. And that cannot be displaced by merely self-publishing one or two things here and there. You follow?
Yeah, fair enough, yes.
Yeah. So now, can we build an equivalent infrastructure of our own? Yeah, it's possible. We should. But it's not going to happen immediately. I mean, not unless there are enough distributors, enough universities, enough publishers, enough participants in the network. So it's a bit of a long haul for us. And, we had to work slowly towards that. It's a, Sashiji, let's not underestimate. This is a multi-generational project.
It's true.
It'll take 2 or 3 generations before this project really matures and becomes impactful.
Yeah, while my final word is I have just breached one of the privacy and confidentiality clause when I started the course, because I have taken a printout of my course last week and shown to my daughter. She's in year 11 and she went through all the papers reluctantly because of I put a pressure on her, and she literally shocked, and she also want to undergo the course next year. Yeah, she's just 15-year-old. So she literally shocked, and she never thought things are so worse.
Yeah, right.
About our identity.
That's right. Yeah, I think that awakening is so important, because otherwise we live in some kind of stupor about the whole thing. Yeah. All right, Padmaji, do you still have your hand up, or are we done? You're on mute. You're on mute.
Oh, sorry. I just had a quick point after Vibhavariji said. I have some personal experience of how Western Indologists treat anybody with contempt and derision. They have, I'm not just person on the street, scholars in India, they have so much contempt. They use their authority. They'll publish in the Hindu newspaper in India, but our own scholars cannot publish there. That's just how, even letters to the editor column, they have such a monopoly, and they don't allow dissent or another opinion. They have so much hegemony. It's worse than the Chinese Communist Party. That's how the Western Indologists, I don't want to name names here, that's how they behave. So, it's not just Indologists are naive and studying their science. They just try to put us in our place with a very colonial mindset still in America too, also the American Western Indologists. So that's my little 2 cents. They are not just studying our science with prejudiced mind. Their treatment of us is also very, very, very bad.
Yeah, I think my point was just that if you look at Indology, I just looked at it on Wikipedia. Actually, it's a very neutral word, and I'm happy to learn about this, this connotation of it, and I will pursue that. Yeah.
Yeah. So see, the thing is, the uniqueness of this phenomenon is that it presents itself as undisputable, objective, factual knowledge, right? On a par with physics as a science, or mathematics as a science, right?
I don't think so. I do not equate it to a science, but yeah, because I think science is much more rigorous than Indology has been.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Okay, I think we'll, Vibhavariji, what we'll do is we'll agree to leave you intrigued at the moment.
To explore exactly, yes. Yes.
All right, good. Okay.
May I quickly share my experience with UW, University of Washington Indologists? One day I thought I will go and meet them. So I met I will be quick but to wrap up. I met head of the department, Colleen Cox, Dr. Colleen Cox, and Dr. Prem Pehlad, who is a senior professor in that department. What I walked away with, I think will shock you. I think the main thing I walked away, I said, I went with a collaborative spirit. We're doing Sanskrit, what can I do? Here is what I am doing. And what shocked me with each of them, with Dr. Prem Pehlad, you can see him online, is he was teaching course on some Vedanta, anything that in Indology. But he was really, there was like a textbook converted and he was repeating it just like other textbooks. When I shared with him the books I have studied on Vedanta, he's like, you know more than I do. So the way we quickly get this back from this example is they are running off translations, and they will quickly sort of say, but I haven't done that. And so this part, I think, is important to quickly overcome the resistance. The second experience with Dr. Colleen Cox, I started speaking Sanskrit with her. She is the authority on Sanskrit, but she could not speak Sanskrit. And so this is another way to quickly make Hindu University effective voice. These are the two examples I wanted to share with you. They were both humbled, and I didn't even go with the intention to really, I went through how can I collaborate, or why are they doing this type of little bit anxious mind, but in a very friendly, open way. And
but
just
did they, the real question is, did they collaborate with you?
No, they were threatened to collaborate as inadequate to collaborate with me. This is the point I am conveying to you. You see, even though they have authority and publications, all the things you mentioned, it is very vulnerable. I mean, if somebody like me could do this, I'm not saying it with any pride or anything. I think I'm sharing this with you as, like Sanskrit department, there has 10 students, Dr. Colleen Cox told. And in the Veda temple here, there are 200 students and families who speak Sanskrit. And she just dissolved. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. She just sit back in the chair. So there are HUA, and then there is Sanskrit Bharati, and these are probably even more effective, those dedicated volunteers there. But I'm not trying to belittle them, please. They have tremendous, like a institutional frame, infrastructure, the word is infrastructure, that will resist. But my stepping into it and talking to them told me a way that I feel very comfortable going and talking to them. And this type of, I think we need these experiences, real frontline experiences with the Indologists, to see what works and what their vulnerabilities are. This is what I wanted to share with you all. Thank you. I can share offline more if you are interested.
Okay. Okay. All right.
So I got a story to tell you too in Australia. 5 years back, I have attended an online course through EDX. Of course, it's an American online facility. Australian National University has conducted a course about India, and 6 weeks course, online course. And both the lecturers as well as the Australian students were condemning India upright center. And when I tried to rebut on the discussion forum, within 24 hours, I received an email by the professor saying that I should respect the freedom of Western Academy. Otherwise, I am free to leave the course. So this is the level of freedom of expression they have when conducting Indology courses or about India. So I'm convinced that they are highly prejudiced and biased. So it's only power play now. So we should have more intellectual, powerful people to rebut them. Otherwise, we are not going to survive. Forget about winning. We can't even survive. Sorry to interfere there. Sorry. That's what I wanted to say.
All right, great. So, in the spirit of sharing experiences, I'll share one experience myself, right? I once went to Harvard University, to the head of the Department of Sanskrit at Harvard. His name was Dr. Michael Witzel. And I asked him what it would take to get a PhD in Sanskrit at Harvard. And after 90 minutes of conversation, he told me I would fail on 2 counts to even get admission at Harvard. Why? Because I would not meet a couple of prerequisites. What were they? I had to have 2 years of German and 2 years of French before I could be admitted into the Sanskrit program. And I got into a little bit of an argument with him and said, how can you say I need German and French to get into Sanskrit at Harvard? To which he said, see, this is what you guys, you Indians, you think Sanskrit belongs to you. It doesn't really belong to you. It's part of the Indo-European Aryan language family. And therefore, at Harvard, if you want to get a Sanskrit degree, you have to first study German and French. So there you have it. That completes the spectrum of experiences. We'll close on that note, and we will meet you again some other time in the future. Is that all right, everybody?
Yes, great.
Okay.
Thank you, Kalyanji.
Thank
The
you.
links are in the
Thank you
chat.
all.
Looking forward to seeing you the next time. Thank you for that wonderful conversation. Thank you, Kalyanji, for
Terrific.
taking everyone's questions, and thank you everyone for sharing.
Thank you.
Bye.
Namaste. Dhanyavad.
Namaste, everyone.
Namaste, everybody.
Namaste.